Welcome, everybody, to episode 41 of Crossing the Line with Greg Heym. Or, as I'm entitling it, the Tom Seaver episode, because he wore number 41, the greatest pitcher of my lifetime. The only thing the Mets had over the Yankees, and they were dumb enough to trade him. Yeah, sending Nolan Ryan away for nothing wasn't bad enough. But say, let's make a worse trade and get rid of the greatest pitcher.
On the toughest day of my life, that's how you start. Okay.
Yeah, Lisa's a little upset. Today is Monday, September 30th, and her Mets are involved in a doubleheader in Atlanta.
Do or die.
Some teams have already clinched and had the best record in their league.
Okay.
And are just
like to
waiting
keep it exciting.
To see. No, you don't.
Yeah, we do.
No, you're just that inept. But it's the Mets. It wouldn't be the Mets if, forget it that they just in a series with a team that had already clinched the division and wasn't really playing for much. But that's okay.
We beat them yesterday.
Okay, that was so yesterday. It's all about today. So I would say how was the weekend, but it doesn't sound like it was great.
Well, at least the Mets won. The Jets, not so much.
The Jets stink. There's no other way to say it. You had 9 days to get ready for a rookie quarterback who can't even throw. You put no pressure on him. You got no turnovers. We're supposed to have this great secondary. They are great, but we don't get interceptions. When you have a great defensive team, they're supposed to put points on the board, especially against a rookie quarterback. 9 days they weren't ready. I don't know what Robert Saleh does to get them ready.
I don't know.
But he's terrible. I mean, his record speaks for itself. And look what Sam Darnold is doing right now for the Vikings. 4 touchdowns yesterday.
Aren't we playing them this coming week?
Yes. Well, I'm not going to say we because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be
the London game, right?
Yes. So at least the pain will be over by noon. Maybe I can save the day. Programming note, no show next week. Sorry. I know there's a big jobs report coming out on Friday. We will have the blog, but I am going under the knife on Mondays, so I will not be able to do that show, but we will be doing remote shows for a couple of weeks. Hopefully that will work out nicely. And again, Lisa Ray is here today. We won't check the Mets score during the podcast.
Let's not.
That might be too painful. Hopefully you're laughing because maybe they came back and swept and, you're like, ha.
We only need one game. One game.
Yeah.
One game.
I seem to remember some other years that came down to it, but maybe when an ex-Yankee was managing your team.
Yeah. I remember those. Yes, I know.
He never got another job. He deserved another one. And we got Ray and Lena here. Thank you. Lena's got to learn to clap a little louder. We're going to work on that. No golf claps in here. And we are coming to you, as always, from beautiful Studio 1873, located conveniently right outside my office and tastefully decorated by our good friends at the Everset.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
And we're back. All right, we had one big story last week, and please don't keep them waiting any longer. What was it?
The personal consumption expenditure.
Right, or PCE. We're down with PCE here on Crossing the Line. So this is the Fed's preferred method of inflation because it looks at total spending, whereas CPI is a lot of estimating, sampling, stuff like that. These are more complete numbers, which is why they switched to that during the Greenspan era as the final say. Although CPI still gets all the love. It's still living off its reputation. It's not really earning it anymore.
It's just what's more recognized. It's what people see as the bigger story on the news.
Well, it has a brother, too. They have the PI brothers. PCE has no siblings. That's the problem.
Just the core.
Yes. Well, everybody's got a core side. It's like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing. So it was up just 0.1% last month and 2.2% higher than a year ago. The 0.1% monthly gain was expected, but the 2.2 was 0.1% lower than forecast, which makes everybody happy. Right. And it was the lowest annual increase since February of 21.
That's 3.5 years.
I know. In February 21, I was just turning 51. Now things have changed. So that sounds all good. We're all happy. It's almost at 2%. Let's party. But core inflation, a little bit higher, right?
Yes.
So Also up 0.1% last month, but over the last year up 2.7%. And for those of you who may not be, inflation enthusiasts,
like the rest of us,
we're kind of paid to be, but the reason is same reason with CPI: energy prices. Core anything typically excludes volatile items, and for inflation, the two most volatile items are food, because that can change a lot depending on storms and potential port strikes, which we'll maybe touch upon a little bit later. As of now, which is about 2:30 on Monday, there's no agreement anywhere in sight.
And what's the deadline on it again?
Midnight tonight.
Oh, it's tonight.
Yes, so I don't know when this is going to drop, but hopefully they've resolved it by the time it does, and we can just laugh it off. But energy prices fell 5% last month, and we saw a similar decline in the CPI. So that's why the core inflation number is higher. It doesn't benefit from that because it's not looking at that number. But if we look at the last 3 months, we tend to look at the most recent data in maybe 3-month or 6-month moving averages. And over the last 3 months, core PCE has risen at a 2.1% annual pace. So that's right there almost.
I was to say we're almost at the target of 2%.
Right, and remember, they don't actually have to hit the target. That's the...
No, they need to just get close enough.
Well, they're close enough now. I mean, this kind of tells you that. And, being right there, this really solidifies that there's 2 more Fed meetings this year of the Open Market Committee, one in November, one in December. How they do these cuts, remember we talked in the last show after the Fed cut rates for the first time since the pandemic, that they expect another 0.5%.
At least, right?
Well, that was the thing. Again, those aren't like promises, but they could certainly feel good if they want to do a 25 basis point cuts. If they go 50 in November, what do they do in December? That would be interesting. That would get them ahead of schedule. I know everybody wants lower rates, but there's a reason that you don't want to root for them to get cut too much, because remember, they have the flexibility. The Fed, they can look and say, all right, the economy, the inflation is under control. So if we need to support economic growth by cutting rates, we can do that. And the problem is, and we've seen this with jobs reports where they get revised down, now people start to worry. Maybe things are worse than we thought. Right. I thought we had a soft landing, and keep saying no, there's no soft landing.
Well, bigger cuts tend to give that perception.
Right. Why are you cutting so much? And then
is it that desperate? Is it that bad? What am I missing in the bigger picture?
Well, so this report that gets put out is done by the Bureau of Economic Analysis, or the BEA. And it's not called the PCE report. It's called Personal Income and Outlays. So what does that mean? Well, there's other data in it other than the PCE, the core PCE price index. There's data on personal consumption, or spending, as normal people call it. Right. That was up just 2% in August, which was lower than expected. And income is in there. And that was also up 0.2% last month. And that was half of what was forecast. And it was the lowest monthly increase since January of 22 in personal income. So the flip side of this is inflation's coming down, but so are incomes and spending. And, you look at that, income and spending going down, that's not good news. But not going down. They're rising less than expected. Right. Same thing with inflation. The rate of inflation is coming down. We don't have deflation, which is when prices just start falling, except for energy prices, which seem... See, I buy a Tesla and energy prices go down immediately. See, you're welcome, America, okay? Again, it's nothing to celebrate when spending and incomes aren't rising as much as they have been. But again, it just makes the Fed more emboldened to cut rates more. But before we all party like it's 1999, you have to remember that anything the Fed does
takes time.
Can take a year or more. They used to say 6 months to a year. Now it's like, we'll just play it safe and say a year or more. And remember, if the Fed cuts 50 basis points or 0.5%, that doesn't mean mortgages are going down. I had this fight with somebody this morning who was telling me I didn't know what I was talking about. So
Right.
I just was very polite about
They
it.
go down, but they don't go down at the same amount in tandem.
They don't necessarily go down. Remember that the Fed between after July of last year up until
Right.
September, they did nothing.
And they were
And
still
rates
going
went all over
down.
the place. They went down, they went up, they went down, they went up. And mortgage rates have been falling since May. But we'll touch on that in part 2. We did get some good news about the jobs market, right? Because we're all worried about that. And what was that news, Lisa?
The initial claims are at a 4-month low.
And this is the fun part about labor market data. You know, we get data and you go, oh, this is good, this many jobs. And then the next month that data gets revised down.
Yes.
And we're still remembering the 818,000 jobs in the year ending March that just disappeared.
Right.
So only 218,000 initial claims for unemployment, beating the 225 forecast. So you hear that it's harder to find jobs. We know that the job openings have been declining, but they're still very high. We know people are spending a little longer on unemployment. Wages aren't rising as quickly as they were. We see that in this data. So it's comforting that less people are filing for unemployment than last week and the lowest amount in 4 months. But it just confuses us a little more. And look, this is a very busy week. Tomorrow we get the JOLTS, job openings and labor turnover survey, which also gives us the quit rate, which is a percentage of people quitting their job. Then we get the ADP report on private sector job growth. And then Friday is the day when the jobs numbers for September come out. And that's really going to drive everything now. Now that inflation is cool, we're not worried about that. That was such a problem like a couple months ago. Now it's all about the jobs. We can't go into recession, and that's what people are going to be watching. So we will, again, we'll have the blog. The line will come out.
Friday.
Unfortunately, we will not have a podcast unless Lisa and Ray and Lena want to do one about how great it is, working with me on this podcast.
What, next Monday?
Lena laughed at that one. So
I have better things to do Monday.
And again, there's this potential for a port strike, which would, really mess with so many segments of the economy. But 45,000 dock workers could be impacted. These are East Coast ports where a lot of food comes through. I saw something about how many bananas come through these ports.
Oh, wow.
So, food is already expensive. And, you're talking about billions of dollars, even if it's just a couple of days.
Of trade.
The effect on the GDP of this country could be dramatic. And they haven't really been talking much the last couple of months, hopefully. But, a lot of times union negotiations always tend to come down to the last minute.
Right, and behind the scenes and behind closed doors, who knows?
Let's see.
Let's hope.
Let's hope they get it done, because we don't need supply shortages again.
No.
We can still remember what people
Empty shelves, yeah.
People hadn't heard the term supply chain. They just never thought about it. The stuff was just in the store. I don't even have to go to the store. I can just go like this.
Go right online.
Amazon has it the next day. What's the problem? Well, if Amazon can't get it, then guess what? You can't get it either. So let's hope they get that done. So the good PCE news led to a good week for stocks.
Oh, stop. Trick question.
Is that a trick question?
It felt like a trick question. It segues into something completely different.
No,
the stock market was very happy with everything. And they showed it, and my retirement says thank you.
You're not allowed to retire until we say so. You're not out till we say you're out. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to follow my sister. She retired today.
Yes.
And congratulations to her.
Yes, Margaret Ann. Go write a book about my hometown. You wrote a book about your hometown in Mineola.
She wrote a book about
Mineola. She can write the Wanto book, even though I'm not from there. But if she ever does a Valley Stream book, I'm happy to participate.
No, we're going to stick to just,
I think those books have been written,
our own town.
Okay, you can do that. That's fair enough. So all three major stock averages rose last week, and the Dow closed the week at a record high. So every week, one of these three, whether it's the Dow, NASDAQ, or the S&P 500, it's their turn for a record. So we'll see who hits a record this week. And this is a bit odd because September is the worst month for stocks historically. So I have data here going back to 1928, and September usually averages a negative 1.17% return. Ooh. The only other months that average negative returns are February, which doesn't make sense because I was born in February. So are those guys, Lincoln and Washington. They're also important.
I can't disparage you. My mother's February, so.
See? Now, is she a Pisces?
No, Aquarius. She's 8th.
Oh, yeah, that's not good. Okay. Pisces are the real important people.
Okay.
But those are like very small declines. So if you're wondering, the best month for stocks actually been July. You know, we talk about the January effect and how stocks typically do well in January, but maybe it should be called the July effect because they do pretty well there. So that is sort of the rundown of the latest on inflation and how good things still are. So we're very happy about that. Again, usually when the Fed is cutting rates, it means we're either right on the cusp of a recession or already in recession. So if they can manufacture the soft landing, it would be the second time ever they did it. Yeah. 1995 being the first time.
Well, it'd be good.
All right, we're going to move on to mortgage rates in the housing market right after this message from our very important sponsor, CrossCountry Mortgage.
I'm Scott Nadler, one of the nation's top mortgage originators, and I'm here to help you take control of your mortgage. Ready to lower your payments or pull out cash for life's big moments? I've got the solutions you need. With over a decade of experience, I'll make your refinance a breeze from start to finish. Don't wait. Call me at CrossCountry Mortgage today, and let's start saving you money.
And we're back again. All these commercials, it just gives us a chance to sip,
have a drink,
water out of these beautiful Crossing the Line with Greg Heym mugs. There's going to be one under your Christmas tree this year if everybody behaves, okay? I know my son's getting one in lieu of actual gifts. All right, so.
Lucky Gregory.
How were mortgage rates last week?
Mortgage rates have also come down, and they've come down quite a bit.
Well, since May, down over 1%, and now at a 2-year low. Now, the decrease last week was very minimal. It went from 6.09 to 6.08. But, hey, look, down is down. Right. So let's not look a gift rate in the mouth, so to speak. Can't afford horses on the show, so that's it. Again, I know a lot of people out there are going to say, I'm going to wait now because rates are lower. I'm going to wait, and then I'm going to get like a 5-something rate, and then I'm going to feel really smart.
Well, except
home prices aren't going down. No. And as we pointed out a couple of times on the show, and I pointed this out in the blog too, that inventory in most parts of the country is still what we would call indicating a seller's market. It's still low. It's gone up a lot over the last year, but you're still in roughly a 4-month and change supply, which is below the 5 to 6 month threshold. So maybe you're going to wait for that, lower rate, but the people that have really wanted to buy for a couple of years now are going to jump on this, and then inventory is going to go down. Prices are going to go up. You'll have your lower rate, but your payment will be more. You can't change the price you pay. You can change your rate. So just keep that in mind. There is a lot of pent-up demand. There's been a lot of job growth, but this is the best time since, the pandemic to buy a home because you have price growth that's kind of flattened out and you have low rates. Again, they are low. Remember, the average is close to 8% over the last half century. So sitting right about at 6%, that's low. I got a higher rate in 2006 when I bought my house. It's a lower rate now, but we won't rub that in. So look at the total cost. Look at your options. Trying to time things is always a dangerous game. It's a long-term investment. Think about that. Situations change. Inflation is coming down, which could give you a chance to refinance a lot sooner than you think you might want to do.
Well, people look at housing and homes as a personal, emotional issue, and it's hard to separate it from the finance side of it. And you have to really think more from the finance side to jump than the emotional side. It's usually how I think you do the best.
I think if you find a home you love,
buy it.
You're not going to lament, that maybe you could have got a little bit lower rate or a lower price. that's why I think you really have to look at, is this home right for me and my situation and what I expect in the future? Everybody has different situations that they have to think about.
Right.
So just keep in touch with your agent and your mortgage lender, and just be aware. The whole thing is about being prepared and informed, and then you're ready to jump on that opportunity, and you won't feel rushed because you've done your homework. So, don't try to time things. It's like trying to find the right time to buy a stock or any other investment. It's a long-term thing, so don't sweat it too much. And, speaking of people being hesitant, we saw a very small increase in pending home sales. Now, pending home sales are a measure of signed contracts, and this is for existing homes. They were up 0.6% in August. I guess we could cheer they were up because existing home sales have been falling. And, we've seen over 1% decline in rates since May, but the prices are still too high. And that's, a situation that it's amazing when you see sales going down, rates have come down a little bit, but you don't see the buying picking up. And that's a concern, again, if people are waiting. Pending home sales were 3% lower than a year ago when rates were significantly higher. Go figure, right? They'll say, well, the prices are higher too. But and then we got another bit of housing information this week.
Oh, the new home sales.
Now, new home sales are also counted when contracts are signed because it takes a while to build. Here in Manhattan, it could take years after you buy an apartment till it's ready. It's funny, they were down less than expected, and they were still down 4.7%. Part of the expectation or the reason this isn't so bad is the prior 3 months were all revised higher. So that obviously makes it harder to get a good monthly increase. Right. And in case you were wondering, new home sales account for 15.6% of all home sales. So a very small percentage. So that, again, we're seeing, we thought when rates got lower, the floodgates would be open. And what we're hearing, talking to agents in the areas that we're in, is the interest is picking up big time. Because, a lot of people said, I'm waiting until the rates get below 6, and they're sitting right on the cusp of that. Mm. And with what the Fed has said about inflation and how they feel so confident about it, then, that will bring mortgage rates down. Not what they do with the overnight rate, the federal funds rate, but it's more about what they say that will move the bond markets, like the 10-year treasuries, that then have the biggest impact
on the mortgage rate.
On mortgage rates. So we're kind of happy, but if we really want to get happy, now that tomorrow will be October, that sets our mind on a special season, doesn't it?
Holiday shopping. Retail's close to my heart.
Now, Lisa spent a lot of time in retail. That's where I stole her away 20 years ago, whatever it was, to work.
Yeah, actually,
to work at Revenue.
That's right.
But but this is the shopping that Lisa doesn't love as much. She likes to buy stuff online. This is Adobe does these forecasts of online holiday shopping, and they're expecting a total of $240.8 billion just online, 8.4% more than last year. Now, this is interesting because there are some stats in here that are pretty cool. Now, if I asked you, and jump in, which type of purchases account for more money? Desktops or mobile devices? What do you think people are spending more on?
I'd say desktop.
You want to jump in on this, Lena?
Just because.
And chalk it up to marketing because it is mobile. There you go. Not by much. The forecast is $128.1 billion on mobile devices, $112.7 for desktop and other. So I don't know what other is other than desktop, laptop maybe. I guess I don't know. Is that considered mobile? I don't know. We should check on it. So
tablet. I don't know. Yeah, tablets, mobile, or
now you know the answer to this, so you can't say anything. What will be the biggest online shopping day this holiday season?
I know.
No.
But I read the article, so
No.
that's,
No. That's Black Friday.
yes, I will believe me, that I know very well. Having had a lot of experience, 12 years in retail.
All right, blah, blah, blah. I spent 3 years in a Sam Goody. Okay, I
Oh,
know
you're
all
an
about it.
amateur. He has
Nothing
no idea.
crazier than a record store the week before Christmas. Trust me.
How about a kids department?
Do you know?
please?
My son likes to tease his father, aka me, about being old and grouchy. And I saw this great thing on social media, of course, Facebook, because I'm old, and it said, "You wonder why Gen Xers are so mad." When we grew up, we bought vinyl. Then they made us buy cassettes. We all can admit cassettes were pretty terrible, right? You know,
Yeah.
but that's all you can listen to in your car. We luckily 8-tracks never really caught on. Then came CDs.
remember.
Then it was MP3s, and now it's streaming. So in a span of our lifetimes, you changed the form of music like 5 times. Like, why do you think we're mad? My son only knows on-demand streaming, like, DVR stuff.
You should remind him that mommy and daddy pay for it, so he better not knock it as much.
Yeah.
Because
That's
the
all right,
streaming
then
could go,
he just whines to
Bye,
grandma
bye.
then I really get in trouble.
oh, yeah, there you go.
So Cyber Monday is the biggest spending. I'm sorry. Well, it's also now they have data on what they call BNPL. At first I saw this, I go, what is that? It's buy now, pay later. So that's supposed to be $18.5 billion. So it's sort of a new category that has sort of come into prominence. Now, obviously with inflation, it's become harder. We used to call it layaway back in the old days.
No, but layaway is different because layaway, you would go and make your payment, and then when you were done paying for it,
You got your
you got
shirt.
your item. Now you get
As-
your shirt and you do the 4 payments
As
every
Tony
month.
Manero did in Saturday Night Fever in the beginning when he gave the guy money on the shirt in the window. He goes, wait for your receipt. He said, don't worry, I trust you.
Right. So big difference. A layaway.
Yeah, no, look.
Now they give it to you.
And credit card debt being record highs,
Yeah.
and rates not coming down fast enough yet on that, it becomes a little more difficult. And you look at the fact that incomes are not rising as fast as they were, and prices are still going up. It's very tricky. I think that's why the concern about the soft landing is still there. And
Well,
every jobs report is going to be scrutinized.
until we get there, I think they're going to worry about it. And why wouldn't people?
Well, the other question is how do you know when you got there? Is that when unemployment stabilizes? Is that when we see, GDP numbers pick up, because they've actually been pretty good. It's not like they've dipped into the negative.
No.
So
no.
we'll have to see. We're kind of playing without a rule book on this one. It's funny because we always can blame it on something, whether it's a pandemic or a tech bubble burst or a financial crisis. We always have an alibi for the fact that we have no idea what we're talking about sometimes. But that's what makes it fun to be an economist, because people think you're smart and you can be wrong a lot.
The day-to-day, week-to-week.
Of course, we try very hard not to be wrong, but I was certainly wrong about the Jets being a professional football team. Oh, boy, it just aggravates me. And I wonder why I root for such a pathetic franchise. But I guess I didn't have enough pain and aggravation, so I said, where can I get more of that? I'll just go all in on the Jets.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's our show for this week. I want to thank Lisa Ray for co-piloting and Ray Lena
Always a pleasure.
for giving moral support and some clapping occasionally and a little class participation. It'll show up on your report cards. Don't worry about it. And just remember that all guests of this great show, it's my mother's favorite show. Still, maybe, I don't know.
My mother's too.
Now, when you're on, it's your mother's favorite show.
Yeah, when
not
I'm on it, it's my mother's
She's
favorite
still watching it. Guests receive lunch compliments of my favorite restaurant, Canaletto, at 208 East 60th Street. Phenomenal Italian food since 1998. Make sure you tell them.
They've been there that long? I did not know that.
It's the year I got married.
Yeah, wow.
Make sure you tell them that Greg sent you. Again, don't ask for my table for lunch. You're not getting it. So have a great week. Again, we won't be here next week, but thought we'll do a couple remote weeks while I'm rehabbing and bonding with my new hip. So, well, when they say kickstart the economy, I took it literally, and I kicked so hard, I have to get my hip replaced.
That's such a bad dad joke.
And why are you laughing so hard?
Because I can't
I mean,
help
Ray
it.
and Lena laughed too. They didn't want to. If my son was here, he'd just sit there and go, miss. But if he's so
it's
smart,
not mid anymore.
how did he forget his Chromebook today? You know,
Yeah, because he's so smart. He's a kid. He's 17. That's what they do.
sure. When he's too busy thinking about his mullet, that's the problem. Anyhow, have a great week, everybody, and thanks again for all the support. And remember, if you have any comments, suggestions, room for improvement, CTL@bhsusa.com. And thanks again to all of our sponsors. Have a great week.